So in this video, we're going to be talking about a proposal that seeks to rewrite and change our First and Second Amendment rights. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you think our founding fathers knew what they were doing when they wrote the First and Second Amendment, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Also, I just want to take a second real quick to thank everybody who likes, comments, who has subscribed to this channel, who shares these videos, reflecting over the holiday season, reflecting in going into next year, and thinking about the trajectory of this channel. I just have come to the realization, and I've known pretty much for this whole time, that I'm extremely blessed, and I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support and big part you guys play into this channel. So I just want to take a second to thank everybody who has supported me over the last 2.5 years, and I'm really excited to see this community grow, to see this channel grow, and to get to do more things and talk about more topics with you guys. So again, thank you guys for all of your support. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. That really does help the channel. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of your support. Also, I want to let you know that this content is powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. So head on over to joinfpc.org to help support the Second Amendment cause. Thank you again, Firearms Policy Coalition, for supporting this channel. So like I said in the intro, an article has been circulating around social media, and it is a proposed rewrite of our First and Second Amendment rights. A professor at the University of Miami School of Law has penned a proposal, and essentially it is a redo of our First and Second Amendment rights. This proposed redo was originally published in the Boston Globe and is titled Redo the First Two Amendments. This article was written by Mary Ann Franks, and she is a so-called distinguished scholar at the University of Miami School of Law. In her article, she wrote, "Speech and guns, two of the most contentious issues in America today, with controversies fueled not only by personal passions and identity politics, but by competing interpretations of the Constitution. Perhaps more than any other parts of the Constitution, the First and Second Amendments inspire religious-like fervor in many Americans, with accordingly irrational results. As legal texts go, neither of the two amendments is a model of clarity or precision," she states. "More important, both are deeply flawed in their respective conceptualizations of some of the most important rights of our democratic society, the freedom of expression and religion and the right of self-defense. These two amendments are highly susceptible to being read in isolation from the Constitution as a whole and from its commitments to equality and the collective good. The First and Second Amendments tend to be interpreted in aggressively individualistic ways that ignore the reality of conflict among competing rights. In turn, this allows the most powerful members of society to reap the benefits of these constitutional rights at the expense of vulnerable groups." She then goes on to state that both amendments would be improved by explicitly situating individual rights within the framework of domestic tranquility and the general welfare set out in the Constitution's preamble. She claims making such an edit to the First Amendment would provide stronger and fairer protections for the right of expression, including by acknowledging, as many states' constitutions do, that every person remains susceptible for abuses of that right. In addition, she states, the implicit principle of separation of church and state would be made explicit. So that's the main text of the article that she put out, and then she also put out 2 examples of how she believes the First Amendment should read and also how the Second Amendment should read. Now, what's the original language of the First Amendment she claims is so unclear and imprecise? Well, the First Amendment reads, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances." Short, sweet, and to the point, and in my opinion, very clear. Well, what is her proposal of what she believes would be more precise and clear? She believes the First Amendment should read, "Every person has the right to freedom of expression, association, peaceful assembly, and petition of the government for redress of grievances consistent with the rights of others to the same and subject to responsibility for abuses. All conflicts of such rights shall be resolved in accordance with the principle of equality and dignity of all persons. Both the freedom of religion and the freedom from religion shall be respected by the government. The government may not single out any religion for interference or endorsement, nor may it force any person to accept or adhere to any religious belief or practices." So that is her version of the First Amendment and how she believes it should be rewritten. Most notably, she leaves out both freedom of speech and freedom of the press from her new First Amendment. Now, the last line of her First Amendment, in my opinion, hits on the left's frustration with Supreme Court cases like Hobby Lobby, which found a business with religious leanings cannot be forced to pay for things like abortions because it goes against their religious beliefs. However, those on the left don't like the fact that people with religious convictions cannot be forced to adhere to other non-religious beliefs under our current First Amendment language. The change she is proposing, no doubt, is being conceived with the aims of forcing religious people to adhere to secular practices. She also threw in this language that stated subject to responsibility for abuses. That language would likely take the form of the government actors forcing you to do something you otherwise wouldn't want to do because of your religious beliefs, or punishing you for your religious convictions. So that is how she believes the First Amendment can be more clear and precise. It's by adding all that new language in and pretty much just completely obliterating the First Amendment. However, amending the First Amendment wasn't good enough for her, so she then moved on to recommending that the Second Amendment also be changed. Now, the original text of the Second Amendment reads, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Pretty short and concise, right? Well, this professor doesn't believe so. She believes the concept of self-defense should be expanded to include a meaningful right to bodily autonomy, such as reproductive matters. Therefore, her proposed Second Amendment would read, "All people have the right to bodily autonomy consistent with the right of other people to the same, including the right to defend themselves against unlawful force and the right of self-determination in reproductive matters. The government shall take reasonable measures to protect the health and safety of the public as a whole." So that is the Second Amendment as she wants to rewrite it. So not only would she like to cram in bodily autonomy language into the Second Amendment, but she would also like to rip out the language as it currently exists on your right to keep and bear arms. She wants to limit the right to only a right to self-defense. However, as anyone with any inch of historical knowledge and experience knows, the Second Amendment protects your rights, and it's not just your rights to self-defense. That is one component of the Second Amendment, but the broader protection of the Second Amendment is your right to bear arms, to keep arms, in case the government becomes tyrannical. This was especially prominent in the minds of the framers when they wrote the Second Amendment, since they had just fought a war against a tyrannical English government. In her new Second Amendment, the government will be given the ability to take reasonable measures to protect the health and safety of the public. This would give the power to the government that the Second Amendment is actually intended to prevent. We see in all these liberal states like California, New York, and New Jersey how they ban various firearms, magazines, your ability to carry a firearm in the interest of public health and safety. An amendment like this would simply streamline legal analysis in favor of the government's restrictions, because they could just say we are banning guns or banning magazines or banning carry, and that's reasonable because it's in the interest of public health and safety. Now, how is the Bill of Rights actually amended? Well, under Article 5 of the Constitution, it provides that the amendments can be proposed either by Congress with a 2/3 vote of both houses or by a national convention requested by 2/3 of the state legislators. Amendments are ratified by 3/4 of the state legislators or by the conventions in 3/4 of the states. So in reality, it would be next to impossible to change the First and Second Amendments, especially such drastic changes that are being proposed here. However, this proposal points to a greater issue. This is actually what a good amount of people think about our First and Second Amendment rights in our country. This type of thinking is why we see never-ending censorship on various platforms, attacks on religious groups, and why we see state and national attacks pretty much every year on our rights to keep and bear arms. Unfortunately, there's a large group of people who no longer believe in or have faith in the ideals and principles that this great nation was built on. Instead, they want to reframe the nation to fit their politically correct woke ideals. And unfortunately, these are the same people who are educating our youth and also educating our legal professionals. So let me know what you guys think about these proposed rewrites of the First and Second Amendments down in the comment section. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Algorithm rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. I just can't thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown me. At the beginning of this year, I set a goal, and it was a very big, lofty goal, and it was to maybe reach 200,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But that was just a drastic, high-reaching goal that was likely not going to happen, because at that time, I wasn't even at 100,000 subscribers. But because of all of your guys' support, I not only reached 100,000 subscribers this year, but I also reached 200,000 subscribers. And that is all because of the support you guys have shown me. Every time you guys like, comment, subscribe on these videos, when you're hitting the notification bell, when you guys are sharing these videos, You guys are impacting this channel, impacting these videos, helping this community to grow, and helping me get a platform where I can actually bring Second Amendment news, Second Amendment knowledge to more people. So I cannot thank you guys enough for all of your support. I'm very blessed to have a community like you guys. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this is Built by Armed Scholars. They should be maintained by Armed Scholars.